changes in terms and conditions for the people that fleet anymore. And for example, if I may, for Barbados, we used to have 12 flights a week prior to COVID. They started their first flight back to Barbados this week. They're going to be flying 2 flights a week, and they hope by December to get back to at least having 1 flight per day. Virgin Atlantic used to provide Barbados with 11 flights and 1 from Heathrow. They will not be starting back flying to Barbados COVID and getting the hotels ready and getting the protocols in place. As I said, the only way people can get there generally is by air. And if the flights are not flying, then of course the numbers recapitalize with a maybe over the next 18 months. And they're going to make sure that they survive by cost savings and replacing and financing of aircraft delivery and shareholders and creditors a new price. As usual, the Brits love their holiday and they're not wanting to give it up. And the Caribbean is a popular destination. So we are seeing at the moment some good signs for 2021, and what some about really wanting to travel at the last quarter of 2020.
So you've really given us a good sense of prospects. I was getting worried for a while there that all was lost, but thanks for the little comfort that you provided. So talk about comfort. We're going to take a comfort break here on the Caribbean Economic Forum. We'll be right back with our special guest focusing on tourism's recovery.
The following is brought to you by MOCA, the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency with kind support of NIA and USAID.
Criminal minds think they are cunning. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency have them running. Your friend a shout, come scam. Take time running, because we ready for the ops. Drive up on your block, step out now me block. Cyber take about your laptop, pull up every lock, no evidence a drop. We put it in a cuffs and now we have the underground. Sin you say scam, you better look out for. When you move corrupt, better look out for. They say you get where, look out for. Look out for, look out for. From you say scam, you better look out for. When you move corrupt, better look out for. They say you get where, look out for. Look out for, look out for.
The proceeding was brought to you by MOCA, the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency with the kind support of NIA and USAID.
MOCA.
Watch yourself online, that's what my crew say. Make it a new day. I'm reminded by the Broadcasting Commission. We the BCJ. What if it was your friend in the mix? What if it was your sis in the pics? What if you want a terrorist watch list? What if?
Suppose that one. What you do?
Don't like, don't comment, don't click. Report it, block it, don't make it stick. Don't trust everybody on the internet. Use it to step up your intellect. So online you have to be safe too. Don't believe the rumors or the fake news. Don't go everywhere they try to take you. Protect the kids or they find a way through. What if it was your friend in the mix? What if it was your sis in the pit? What if you want a terrorist watch list? What if?
Suppose that go on.
What if?
Wait up, free.
Tourism doesn't exist by itself. Tourism happens only because a whole range of other economic activities are taking place. Having tourism is to ensure that there can be growth in almost every economic sector. The small craft vendors and the small foodies on the street corner who make some of the most delicious and most delectable cuisines that we could want. One of the things that is important to ensure that tourism is inclusive is that the inputs that are required for tourism must be sourced locally. Made by Jamaicans, originates in Jamaica, and is sourced in Jamaica. Tourism is working for you, is working for me, is working for all of us.
What can a little germs do?
Pink eye running belly, even flu. Germs can make them happen to you.
Put germs on our manners with these. Cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. Always wash your hand with water and soap. Keep dirty hands from your eyes and your nose and your mouth. You don't want to be sick, take care. Practice every day, no germs round here. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Yeah, yard man. Yeah, yard man, don't respect. I want to yard. I respect and love, man, to all Jamaica, no matter where in the world. One eye, like I own you. No matter where in this world I go, I am a Jamaican. No birth papers I have to show, cause I am a Jamaican. No matter where in this world I go, I am a Jamaican. No birth papers I have to show, cause I am a Jamaican. I have Jamaican walk, them here Jamaican talk, cause I am a Jamaican. Them here Jamaican chat, them say Jamaican bop, cause I am a Jamaican. Now everywhere in this world I go, I am a Jamaican. And no ID I will have to show, cause I am a Jamaican. Them say, Lord, what a boy can run, that is a Jamaican. When them see the Rasta man from Jamdong, that is a Jamaican. Dressmaker, baker, tailor, shoemaker, market, woman in a donkey cart. Rivers and streams, fountains and mountains. In a Jamaica we have it all. Now anywhere in the world I go, I am a Jamaican. No birth papers I have to show, cause I am a Jamaican. When you hear that music I play out a door, it must be Jamaican. When you smell the food I cook when the breeze blow, got to be Jamaican. Hey, beautiful smile, God-fearing people, known across the world, yet you're so simple. You're so loving and kind. Oh, jam down, sweet Jamaica. Jam bless this island of mine. No matter anywhere I go, I am a Jamaican. No ID I man need to show, cause I am a Jamaican. Oh, them people they laugh so much, got to be Jamaican. They have overcome struggles and been through so much, got to be Jamaican. You're not all, you're not tough, you got to be Jamaican. Resilient and brave, industrious, yes we are Jamaican. No matter anywhere in this world I can run must be a Jamaican. When they made the reggae music from Jam Down, got to be Jamaican. Dressmaker, baker, tailor, shoemaker, market, woman in a donkey cart.
A long way, I believe, to ensuring that we get the fairest piece of the pie that we can at this point.
Thank you very much, Patricia. We'll come back after this break with more from our panel and a lot more from our visitors online.
Hey, my name is Matthew Clark, and I was sponsored by the Central Bank of Barbados in the 2017 edition of SPICE. A brief overview of the program is for science students all over the Caribbean to further their knowledge in STEM. STEM is science, technology, engineering,
and build a more resilient region. Cooperation and collaboration domestically and regionally are imperative if we are to create a society, an economy, and an environment that are all fit for purpose and that will help us to rebalance. We at the bank are therefore pleased to facilitate this series where together we discuss the issues. We thank you for tuning in and participating in the conversation tonight. We also thank our panelists for lending us their expertise. Join us again on August 25th when we discuss the topic, The Future of Work is Here, with Dr. Carmen Serra Pages, Chief of the Labor Markets and Social Security Unit of the Inter-American Development Bank. See you then.
And welcome back to the Caribbean Economic Forum. The main subject tonight is tourism's recovery. We've got a distinguished panel, and we also have participation by a number of interests across the region. Let's head to St. Vincent and the Grenadines now and welcome Joel Providence. He works at Correa's Hazels there in Kingstown and joins us live. Good evening.
Good evening, Julian. Good evening, panelists. It's good to be on the program. I have several questions to ask, but I'll begin with just this one. And the concern relates to cruise ship passengers. How do we guarantee that they will come ashore in our ports, having tested negative, and say they would have started a journey 3 or 4 days and won't stop in other ports? How would we know for sure that they are negative when they come ashore? And what safeguards there would be for the local citizenry when the independent passenger walks in the port, in the capital and so on, and mingle with people on the street? How could we make a separation between the cruise passenger and the local population, especially when you know that there are challenges with the creation of bubble tour? What would be your view?
Okay, so let's go to the panel then and have one person respond to this one. There's obviously a certain anxiety, so let's get a response here.
I'd like to respond, but I didn't hear him properly. I know he was talking about cruise and cruise tourism and perhaps how the issues of the infection levels and testing and so on, I believe.
Yes.
But I wasn't sure
Yes.
the extent of what he was saying. But indeed, the challenge for the Caribbean and the good news, in fact, is that we are still the most important cruise destination in the world. Indeed, we are the most lucrative as well, and will continue to be so. The other good news is because of how we've managed COVID, we're likely to have more people wanting to come into our space. So what we in the Caribbean have to ensure is that we have the strongest protocols possible and that the cruise lines not only understand it, but are fully compliant. Because we know the problems and the particular vulnerabilities of cruises. They literally are floating ecosystems. So we have to make sure that in our ports are the particular COVID security equipment and infrastructure that will give us the best opportunity to be able to screen and to respond to all of those passengers who are coming up. Knowing the status of the passengers on the ship 48 hours at a minimum before they come into our ports. And also being able to do some level of testing while they're there is going to be very important. I wanted to introduce something that could also be useful. We in Jamaica are now very advanced in discussing with an international partner the possibilities for insurance to cover all visitors who come into our shores, to enable them to have testing, mandatory testing when they arrive at their expense, of course, and with a possibility for repatriation once they're tested positive and or showing illnesses. So this is another of the protective cover that we could have in the Caribbean to ensure that there is a minimum chance of infection from visitors coming, whether from cruise or from land-based.
Thank you very much, Minister, for handling that one. Let's see who handles the next one. This one comes in via WhatsApp now, and this is from one of our viewers. So what's the question? Given the reports that people are faking having taken a COVID test, is it feasible to test everyone who enters the country? Given the reports that people are faking having taken a COVID test, is it feasible to test everyone who enters the country? Let me take this to the professor here who heads up the UE COVID-19 task force. Professor Landis?
Mm-hmm. I know that we're just practicing, so I just want to go back to the last. Boy, that last question is a very dangerous one about the cruise ships, because it is not really for the recipient countries to be running tests for short stay passengers who might be coming in. You know, these ships, when they have an incident, they become, the problem is with the cruise and the cruise passengers and with the cruise industry. So when we had one single case of a suspected person with COVID who was turned away from Antigua and from St. Lucia and came to Barbados, we tested that person. We turned around the test within about 5 hours. And then the ship, you know, had a big celebration because it was free. Now, we have to be realistic here. If these cruise ships, which have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, are coming from Florida, there are going to be a lot of people who are positive. You know, how are the cruise industry going to manage who comes onto these ships? When you look at that one repatriation flight that came with JetBlue to Barbados, Barbados did something that people said, boy, this is really very tough what you're doing, but we did it anyway. We tested everyone on arrival. There was one positive. Then we put them all into quarantine and tested them again 7 days later, and there were 6 further positives. This is the nature of this illness, and I would be very uncomfortable putting out a position that we take some kind of responsibility as recipient countries to the cruise industry. The cruise industry has serious questions they need to answer about having their own laboratories and all kinds of procedures on their ships so that they can manage, if ever there is an outbreak, that they can isolate people immediately. It really isn't up to us. And, you know, I know that Mia Motley, I believe, is chairing a commission with the cruise industry in the next couple of months. And these are the kind of things they will need to thrash out. I think this is a very dangerous area for us to go into in this discussion.
I'm sorry, I beg your permission to intervene, because I do think that Professor Landis is onto something strong. However, I believe that my responsibility to my people has to go beyond the responsibility of the cruise ships, because I know that they're commercial, and I know that they will do what they think is the right thing. But I need to be in a position too, in my destination, to give that cover, to ensure that what I'm putting out there to mingle with my citizens in the different parts of Jamaica are as pure as is possible under the circumstances. And so what we're trying to do is to make the passengers pay for all of that coverage. And that's the point I was making a while ago. And it's something I believe that all of us in the Caribbean should look at, to ensure that they pay for the coverage, the health coverage that is provided for them, which secures our people as well. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much to both of you for responding in the way that you have done. We got another contribution, this time from Nicola Harrison. She's a trainer at the Barbados Hospitality Training Institute in Bridgetown, and she joins us with a question. Good evening, Nicola.
Hi, good evening, Julian, and good evening to the
We're not hearing you, Nicola. For some reason or other.
Is it better now?
It's not better. Okay, go ahead, Nicola. Go ahead, Nicola. Well, there's no sound. Okay, you can fix that. All right, I think we've had quite a test of the systems, and the only thing left to do is to give everybody in the panel 1 second to wrap. You heard right? 1 second each to wrap. Good, that's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us for this edition of the Caribbean Economic Forum and our special look at the tourism recovery. We hope you'll join us next time when we get together again to have more drinks and fun on this show. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Well, I must tell you that you did a demo. You did a demo tonight.